Alright everyone, so they're actually completely goddamn insane. They have banned Donald Trump from Twitter, and preemptively Apple and Google are moving to prevent people from using Parler, showing that there's already an illegal vertical monopoly there in the process. And it's funny because Apple actually, they appeared to insinuate that they, as a company that has 230 protections, essentially wanted Parler to waive their 230 protections if they wanted to be in the App Store. There are so many calls to violence and so many illegal posts on Twitter, and yet Apple, of course, because there's a vertical monopoly, one hand washes the other, it's anti-competitive and already illegal trust behavior. They don't apply that logic to Twitter now, do they? Very interesting. Only to Parler. They apply it to Parler based on the political persuasion of the people that are there and based on calls by third-party cringe-fringe pink hair people. By the way, there are various links in the description. If you're not joining me on Alt Tech, then don't expect to be seeing much of me pretty soon, because I think when the President of the United States is banned by billionaires, don't you think the writing's on the wall for anyone who's ever supported him? This is effectively, there is a coup going on. It's just that the average lamestream liberal thinks that the coup was a couple of days ago when Trump attempted to cause his fans to storm the Capitol and take over the government. That never happened. Donald Trump never called for violence, in fact, quite the opposite. He held a rally, not an insurrection. The rioting that happened in the Capitol wasn't even an insurrection. Half the people were there to take a selfie and leave. There was actually relatively little violence other than the fact that one of the Trump fans got shot. Say her name, Ashley Babbitt, by the way. And now Big Tech is twisting the knife, and they're doing this for fiscal purposes. This is a de facto coup by a half a dozen billionaires, multi-billionaires, that control virtually all human communication and have inordinate amounts of power in the tech world. They essentially own your government. You need to understand the dynamics here. It's impossible for a person to get into politics now without having a presence on these sites. Ergo, these billionaires have a power much greater than any robber baron from the Gilded Era with carpetbagging. Back then, you go into a back room and you give some dude a satchel full of gold bullion or a box of money or something, and you get political favors. They don't even need to do that anymore. They don't even need to buy these people off. What we've just seen is that the President of the United States has essentially been cut off from the entire country for absolutely nothing. The claim is false. There was no coup attempt. But the authoritarian billionaires are staging a coup. They want complete control over the U.S. government. I noticed Chinese state media, representing a country that enslaves millions of people and has literal concentration camps, I noticed that their state media is still on Twitter. Nobody's banning that from the Apple Store. Nobody's banning heads of state in foreign countries like the Armenian president or something. Nobody's banning tin horners from Venezuela or any of these other countries. They're perfectly fine. But Donald Trump releases a video telling people to go home and stay calm with love in their hearts, sounding like a goddamn right-wing Ringo Starr, and it's insurrection. There are people saying that it's a coup attempt. Oh yeah, there's a coup attempt going on. It's your government is being taken over by multi-billionaires. Now, supposedly leftists don't like multi-billionaires, but they seem to have found a group of them that they don't have too much of a problem with, because of years of non-stop orange man bad propaganda. That's really what we're seeing, is the culmination of authoritarian propaganda from big tech firms and others. And see, like Coca-Cola and Walmart and Microsoft and all these going woke at the moment. Like Microsoft's like, oh, it's safe to turn on your computer now. So to be clear, you'll probably be purged off Twitter. I think I've lost 5,000 or 6,000 users in the last 24 hours there. Significant proportion. Yeah, getting to 100K is probably not happening. To be clear, I don't expect to hit 500,000 on YouTube at this point. I think that I'll either be banned or I'll be dead in the water for the foreseeable future. As far as Twitter goes, though, it's almost vestigial, because really, other than as a DM machine and as a notification machine, what's the point of it? You shitpost. The whole point of Twitter is to troll and shitpost. Yep, Twitter, by the way, has nothing edgy on there that Apple should care about. I am proud to say I've never owned or used an Apple device in my life. Very, very happy about that. I think that my decision aged like fine wine, as many have. By the way, actually, Ramsey Paul, he gets kudos. He was right and I was wrong. I thought that they wouldn't be nuts enough to ban Trump. I don't think they would have if it hadn't been for the Capitol thing. But keep in mind, those people were basically waved into the Capitol. The police that were outside didn't even bother to try to hold the line. They stepped back and waved him in. I don't think they wanted him in the building, but they didn't really have a problem with him going through the security fences, now did they? They didn't even fucking try to stop them. There's footage of one of the cops waving them in. It was a photo op. This is a push. It's a coup by billionaires, not by Trump. This isn't a coup attempt by Trump and his fans. This was a situation, look at it for what it really is. They're pretending it's the next 9/11. No, what happened is Trump had a rally of, I don't know, 60, 70,000 people show up. A couple thousand of them got violent. A couple thousand of them thought it was a bright idea to go and take selfies while committing multiple felony crimes on a federal level. Showing you the intelligence of many of these people, by the way. That's what happened. A very small splinter group, which also contained some BLM and Antifa members, I will note, entered the Capitol. And all of a sudden, I'm supposed to think that billionaires should upend all of society. For months and months and months, we had fiery riots, arsons, looting, and insanity across dozens of U.S. cities over situations where officers justifiably acted, usually. All the unjustifiable shootings, you don't even know who was shot because the MSM never talks about it. You were essentially told that those were mostly peaceful. Oh yeah, just ignore the dozen people that just died. Just ignore the Chaz shootings. Just ignore billions of dollars in damage. Just ignore the fact that they burned schools and attacked police and threw bombs and human shit at people. Those are all most of the people were peaceful. Well, most of the people that showed up in D.C. were peaceful. You think that the 2,000 or 3,000 people that entered the Capitol were the bulk of the people that showed up? Take a fucking look at the footage. There's 50, 60,000 people there here to see Trump. Possibly more. That was just the main event. This was a splinter group comprised of partially people that didn't want to go home and partially, it appears, left-wing infiltrators. But you're not hearing that from the MSM. They're acting like it's another 9/11. And because it's like 9/11, we need to think of the children and think of saving democracy. So we need billionaires to silence people. We need the President of the United States banned because he's dangerous. He is dangerous. He's dangerous to their coup attempt. They are projecting everything that they are doing right now off on, well, half the U.S. population. They're effectively saying that half the population should not be able to speak. They're expecting that their actions here will be helpful. And that there won't be, by the way, any fucking backlash whatsoever. Nobody's going to resist. It's not going to harden alt-tech more. If you're not on alt-tech now, you've missed the train. In fact, you've gotten run over by the fucking train. I'm very glad I have a lot of cryptocurrency too, because I have a feeling this is the preface to something very, very bad. What we saw is 3 years of a Trump presidency in which things were relatively calm, the economy was going along, and things looked up. Things were great. Now things are coming crashing down. It turns out it wasn't morning in America. It was a false dawn. It's still the middle of the night. What we were seeing was the dusk light of a dying republic, I suppose. I'm not proclaiming the end of the United States, but as far as us being able to have a fair and free society, when a half a dozen billionaires fundamentally control most world communication, it's not possible. Because of the disproportionate power that they and their corporate buddies, a few hundred other major, like Fortune 500 companies, because of the massive amount of power that they wield, and they no longer have any constraints on it. So they can ban the President of the United States. Think about that. Let that set in. For people, the 10 liberals that will see this too. Doesn't that frighten you slightly that the President of the United States is not the one apparently in charge anymore, and that it's actually an oligarchic cabal of people who use child labor in foreign countries and platform literal criminals? They platform world leaders that repeatedly call for massacring people. The Ayatollah will, be allowed on Twitter. No problem. Perfectly fine. Can literally call death to America. And then U.S.-based firms that supposedly are standing for democracy will platform that shit while banning Trump for holding a rally. Really, this isn't about the Capitol. This isn't about the Capitol invasion. That's not a proper explanation. Trump never called for that. In fact, he disavowed it. But because there's a risk of violence, so we're going to ban the President of the United States. You're going to cause violence. It's just like I've said for years now with tech censorship. When you censor people, when you tell them they don't matter, their voice doesn't matter, and to shut up, they can get violent. You are increasing stress and alienation. The stress and alienation is the disease that's causing them to be edgy. They're only lashing out verbally because of that stress. When you remove that, the capability of them to do that, they will lash out otherwise. JFK had a quote. What was it? Those who make peaceful protests impossible make violent revolution inevitable, or something to that effect. So you're going to see more violence. If you think the Capitol is the last time that there's going to be a struggle here, then you don't understand world history. I don't know what else to tell you other than you don't have a properly functioning republic when a handful of billionaires can ban the leader of your country for doing literally nothing because a false consensus based on propaganda has been built that he's a bad person. And that's really what you have. They've done this, by the way, before to other people. What happens is that the big tech firms decide, like with InfoWars. InfoWars was the first really big one. They decided that InfoWars was a threat to the mainstream media. They were gaining viewers rather rapidly. They were saying things that are outside of the orthodoxy, and Alex Jones appeared to be nominally independent and not on the payroll, so to speak. So they all decided to cut him off at the same time. When he therefore, and his network got completely cut off all at once, it was impossible for him to actually defend his positions because he had been cut off on all of them. And under older circumstances, like let's say you got banned on Twitter, you could make a YouTube video explaining why the ban is bullshit. And you could give evidence. Essentially, it's almost a form of defamation because these companies are acting as judge, jury, and executioner when really under the auspices of the 230 protections, they're supposed to be neutral carriers. The whole point was that they were going to need to be neutral carriers because they couldn't editorialize. Well, it looks like that's gone out the window. I wonder, of the 6,000 Twitter followers that have been Stalined over the last 24, 48 hours, how many of them deleted their accounts and moved to Parler, and how many were just banned? I don't know what the ratio is. A lot of people are saying it's a purge. Well, it could be just people are fleeing Twitter. And I'm not going to be, I don't know that I'm going to continue actively using Twitter for anything other than a DM machine because, I mean, I refuse to use Facebook. And they're even more censorious, oddly enough. That's the only other site, really, that has a proper direct messaging function. By the way, one problem with Parler, the direct message system, and with Gab, and with Minds. Nobody needs encrypted messaging a la Minds. I have to set it up. It keeps prompting me to set it up over and over and fucking again, and it's like, you know, at some point it's a waste of time. But there are links in the description of this video, cross-platform. You can join me on Alt Tech because I have, again, the writing is on the wall. As I said yesterday, the curtain has now been pulled back, and people are getting to see the blank wall behind it. Supposedly rational liberal individuals appear to have no problem with the concept of multi-billionaires literally running every aspect of their lives. In fact, they're begging for it. Just like after 9/11, people begged for more surveillance. They begged, go kill the terrorists, Bush. Kill them. And then he invades Iraq, and people wonder, what fucking happened? All of a sudden, they realize they were being spied on. No, we wanted the terrorists to be spied on. We want you to keep us safe from bad guys. That's not what government does. That's not what corporations do. Nothing that any of these big tech firms does is in your benefit. It is for their own fiscal benefit. They exist to profit and amass power. They have formed a vertical monopoly that is already illegal under U.S. law. There's a reason they're facing so many antitrust suits, all of which I suspect will fall flat because these people have dirt on literally every politician. Do you honestly put it past people who have that kind of wealth not to try to secure it and get more wealthy? You are giving them far too much credit. They're very, very good at propaganda and branding. They've convinced people that they're unique among corporations and that they don't experience the same pressure to profit. Apple is probably the best at this because they round all the corners and have bright colors that make you feel cheerful, make you feel like you're a baby again. And Apple users, a lot of them tend to be babies. If you're using any Apple device, fucking chuck it out the window, dude. Get something better. Of course, it's not really an alternative. Do Blackberries still exist? I know that there's like a, Pine phone and stuff like that you can use. Get a primitive flip phone. They'll probably try to ban those from existing since they don't track you as much. Anyway, yeah, fuck the app generation. Always use desktop when possible, I'd say. Well, there's nothing else to say. I mean, it's sort of the end now, isn't it? Doesn't this feel like there's a little bit of a finality? Like at the very least, this is the end of an act and the beginning of another one, and now we're going to be in the battle scene of the movie, so to speak, by which I'm hoping to mean ideological struggle as opposed to anything else. Because, of course, unlike the MSM, I actually disavow all political violence. That makes me unique among commentators. Now, anyway, it's fucking horseshit is what it is. It's propaganda. I've been warning about it for years, and there's still content creators that never prioritize their alt-tech presence. Oh yeah, I've got such a big audience on Twitter. I got like 1 million followers. Wonderful. If they can ban the president of the United States, no, they think that you'll get banned? And by the way, when, tens of millions of conservatives leave your platform and it's hemorrhaging users and they're piling in on its competitors and buffing them up, Twitter no longer gets to keep its monopoly. Again, they're unique among tech firms in not having as much of a stranglehold either. It's not like Google and Apple form a complete duopoly over App Store stuff. Google is the big kahuna when it comes to search. Although it has competitors, it's basically it. When you look at YouTube, while there are competitors to YouTube, it has 95% of the market share. That's really, but Twitter? Twitter's vestigial. It's also older. I used to think that it was newer than YouTube. I hadn't even heard of it because Twitter's not as big. Jack Dorsey is the little boy of the big tech giants. It's really, really funny. He increasingly looks like an old hermit that lives in a cardboard box under the bridge. I hope that someday he does live in a cardboard box. I hope that happens to him. Couldn't happen to a nicer dude. When you start fucking around and interfering in the political system, look, they said, well, foreign nations are interfering with the political system. Big tech needs to do more. Big tech is interfering in the political system, you moron. Doofus. They're the ones interfering. Trust me, Putin would love to have 1% of the ability to influence public conversation that Jack Dorsey has. The Ayatollah wishes that he had some Google stock. These are the monsters that we now face in society. These are the criminals and the evildoers. They are the ones fomenting violence. They condone it explicitly. The irony is, the upending of society that we've seen in the last 48 hours is prefaced on one simple thing. A small group of right-wingers acted like the left has for the last 7 fucking months. That's basically what it boils down to. And in fact, they didn't even act that badly. Again, the only person killed, I think one of the DC guards actually died of their injuries, so that's sad. But I mean, fucking how many dozens of people have leftists killed over the last 7 months? Again, there was never any remembrance for Secoria Turner on Google homepage. Keep that in mind. That's about all. Peace out.